Marcus King had been called many things: visionary, ruthless, a billionaire savant. He built a security empire that guarded presidents, moguls, and banks. Only 32, yet in every boardroom, men twice his age adjusted their ties, measured their words more carefully. Seattle's skyline stretched beyond his office. Rain traced endless rivers across the glass. The storm outside mirrored the quiet storm within him, an ache that never let go. Marcus grew up here, raised by a single mother south of downtown. She was a praying woman, their tiny home filled with hymns and whispered pleas to heaven. They didn't have money, but they had faith, and she gave him a love that felt unshakable. When she died before seeing his success, his faith died too. In the years that followed, money, power, appearances became the only things he trusted. He built walls so high, no one could scale them. He didn't just enter a room, he claimed it. Conversations thinned, laughter faded. Even his rivals, men with fortunes of their own, straightened in their chairs. Polite smiles masked caution. But behind their eyes lived quiet recognition. Marcus King's command came from true power, a business savvy few could match. And yet, for all the power he carried, silence followed him home. His wife, Elena, reinforced the myth. Beauty meant for cameras, long-limbed, sharp-cheeked, porcelain skin flawless under every lens. Once a model, always immaculate. Together, Marcus and Elena looked like the cover of a luxury magazine. Wealth, power, symmetry. But behind that perfect frame, Marcus lived like a prisoner, watched, scrutinized, admired, but never loved. His house was silent, his marriage hollow, his empire profitable, but his soul empty. Something was missing. He found what was missing the day Simone Jones walked into his company, not as part of his empire, but as his whole world. Simone wasn't simply beautiful, she was unforgettable. Her ebony skin gleamed like satin beneath Seattle's rain, smooth and rich as night itself, as if the stars had chosen her and never let go. But her power wasn't in her beauty. It was in her intelligence, the way she carried herself, every glance, every step, every measured smile. Simone grew up in New Orleans, a church-going family, parents who had recently celebrated 50 years of marriage. Their faith shaped her, steady, enduring. She carried that faith wherever she went. After college, she left Louisiana for Seattle, but she brought with her her family's prayers, their unshakable belief in her, a vision of love rooted not in power, but devotion. It gave her a shine no degree could teach. Boardrooms leaned in when Simone spoke. Colleagues fell silent when she entered. She wasn't decoration, she was strategy. Authority sharpened by brilliance, executed with grace. At King's security investor briefings, her marketing genius stole the spotlight. She stood at the podium in a navy sheath dress. Slides precise, delivery flawless. Numbers were Marcus's battlefield, but Simone wielded words like weapons. The board leaned forward, the staff hung on every word. Marcus, who usually scanned for threats, found himself watching her instead. Not just her skill, her spirit. She reminded him of something buried with his mother. Light, warmth, faith that felt unbreakable. At charity galas, Simone floated through the room like starlight. Her laughter disarmed even the most guarded donors. Conversations bent toward her. She gave each person the same grace, whether billionaire philanthropist or server balancing trays of champagne. Marcus kept his distance, but his eyes always found her, and sometimes fate pressed them closer. Not just in boardrooms or galas, but in the quiet turns of the city, where even power couldn't control what happened next. A blackout rolled through Midtown late one night. The elevator jolted, stalled, red emergency lights flickered to life. Marcus and Simone stood inches apart. Her shoulder brushed his arm. The contact was nothing, it was everything. For a heartbeat, they were only two people in the dark, stripped of titles, of power, of restraint. The air tightened. His pulse thundered in his ears. Then the lights snapped back, harsh, blinding. The moment shuddered, but it didn't vanish. It lodged deep, where storms begin. For a while, Marcus told himself it would pass. He had a wife, a company, an empire, things to lose. But night after night, his black Mercedes G-Wagon lingered too close to Simone's street, a place he had no right to be, yet something inside him always returned. Seattle rain fell steady, merciless against the windshield. Still, he sat staring at her window, searching for a life that wasn't his to claim. Through her kitchen window, he sometimes caught glimpses, the curve of her body moving to music while she cooked, the quiet focus as she bent over a book, the graceful flick of her braids when she turned her head. Other nights, her laughter drifted faintly through an open window. That sound pulled at him, more sharply than sight ever could. Once, he lingered too long. Simone reached up, closing the curtains. The warm lamplight thinned to a narrow line. That simple act snapped the last thread of his restraint. The penthouse glowed with expensive silence, cold, immaculate, lifeless. Elena noticed his distraction, of course. She set down a crystal glass. "You're late," she said, not looking at him. He answered, still keeping his boardroom smile. "I'm going to bed." They shared a bed like strangers locked in the same cage, their bodies close, but their worlds miles apart. Elena slept motionless, perfect even in dreams. Marcus lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his mind drifting not to the woman beside him, but to Simone, the sound of her laugh, the fire in her eyes, the life that seemed to pour from her without effort. His days ran like clockwork, meetings, contracts, rivals who braced when he leaned forward. But beneath the surface, a storm was building. Marcus pulled his black Mercedes to the curb, cut the engine, sat still. Rain battered the windshield, each drop drumming the weight in his chest. For a long beat, he didn't move, just stared through the blur of water, searching for courage. At last, he stepped out. The storm swallowed him whole. Soaked black coat clung to him as he walked, each step heavier than the last, until he stood at Simone's house. Rain streamed down his face as he lifted his hand. He hesitated, then slowly knocked. The door opened. Simone stood there. A red satin robe, braids loose across her shoulders. Jasmine candles flickered behind her, their fragrance spilling into the storm. Her eyes widened. Before her stood Marcus King, drenched, trembling, desperate. "What are you doing here?" "I can't keep pretending. I lie beside someone who fills the room, but not my heart. I walk an empire that means nothing without you. I've been loving you in silence, and it's choking me. I can't wait another second. I want you. I love you with everything I have for a moment." She hesitated, torn between fear and fire. Rain hammered the steps. His chest rose and fell, waiting. Then, her hand lifted, hesitant at first, then sure. She caught him by the coat, pulled him past the threshold. The door closed behind them, shutting out the storm. The jasmine candles flickered. Shadows danced across the walls. Their fragrance filled the room, warm, heady, binding them together. Her back pressed to the door, his lips traced her jaw, the tender hollow beneath her ear. Heat bloomed, their mouths found each other again. A spark to tinder. Her satin robe loosened, slipped in a hush of silk. They moved with certainty, like two storms colliding at last. Unlearning restraint, finding one another in pauses, in breaths. His mouth brushed her collarbone, and she trembled. He lifted her, as if she were weightless, laid her gently on the couch. Her arms looped behind his neck, pulled him closer. Not a question, a claim. When he entered her, it wasn't collision, it was recognition. Two halves, made whole at last. Candle flames wavered, perfuming the air with jasmine. Their bodies found a rhythm, breath to breath, storm outside keeping time. It didn't feel like crossing a line, it felt like arriving. Safely home, they rose, still tangled. Moved to the shower. Steam curled around them, blurring the world's edges. He washed her shoulders, the slope of her back, pressed lips to droplets of water as they slid over her skin. Each bead shimmered like a jewel. He didn't want to let even the water lay claim to her. She traced his spine, kissed his chest. They didn't hurry. The storm ran down the drain, washing away lies, distance, fear. And when he entered her again beneath the water, it was not a conquest. It was love. Absolutely true, and binding love. She wrapped her arms around him, anchored him in time, and he knew with certainty that his soul had found its undeniable match. Later, in the hush that followed, Simone rested against his chest. Her hand traced slow patterns over him. Each touch, love she could no longer hide. Marcus pressed his lips to her forehead. A whisper spilled into the dark. I have loved you from afar for so long, and now I can't breathe without you. Please, Simone, don't make me live without you anymore. Tell me you're mine. Yes, Marcus, I'm yours. Completely. Always and forever. You're my everything, my first love, my first time, my true connection. For the first time in years, Marcus felt his heart break open. A tear traced his cheek, not weakness, surrender. From that moment, Marcus knew she belonged to him and only him. By dawn, the storm had passed. The street shimmered with rainwater. Puddles caught the sunrise like glycerin rainbows. Inside, Jasmine lingered. Candles melted into pools of wax. Marcus woke with Simone in his arms. Her braids spilled across his skin. For a man who lived by alarms and stock tickers, he didn't want to move. Not now. Not ever. You should go. Do you want me to? Her gaze softened. No, but the world will notice. He brushed her cheek with his thumb. Let them notice. Last night was the first thing in years that felt real. She pressed her whole body into him, held him tight. Neither spoke the word affair. It wasn't needed. The truth was already burning too brightly. Mid-morning, Marcus walked into King's security, suit tailored, jaw sharp, presence cutting through the room like a blade. The whispers had already begun. Simone heard them first. Passing the break room, voices dropped, but not enough. You don't get that kind of access without giving something back. Brilliant, sure. But sleeping your way up is still sleeping your way up. Funny how her ideas get fast-tracked when he's around. She kept walking, spine straight, heels clicking, face unreadable, but inside. The words cut like knives. Later, in the conference room, Marcus noticed too. Simone stood at the head of the table, her red robe replaced by a tailored red dress, her voice, crisp and commanding, strategies laid out flawlessly. But even as she spoke, he saw the sideways glances, the faint smirks, the whispers growing roots. The gossip was beginning to spread. By the time Marcus left the conference room, the whispers had grown legs. They trailed him down the hall like shadows. Holt, one of his senior VPs, intercepted him, tone sharp, eyes calculating. Just a little reminder, Marcus. Word travels fast in a building like this. You seem to be forgetting that. Then Holt tilted his head slightly toward the conference room, where Simone's deck still glowed across the wall. Around here, perception becomes truth quicker than facts ever do. And sometimes it's not the deals that sink you, Marcus. It's the whispers. Holt paused and smiled, a thin smile that didn't fill his eyes. Marcus, cutting in, firm voice edged with steel. Who do you think you are reminding? The word cracked the air between them, sharper than thunder. Marcus's gaze made it clear. He wasn't the one who needed reminding who held the real power. Holt's smile slipped. He nodded, then quickly moved on, leaving Marcus standing in the corridor, his pulse quickening and anger brewing. Reeling from the night with Marcus and the gossip at work the next day, Simone stayed late in the office, which had emptied to the hum of vents and the glow of the city. Every whispered rumor chipped away at the foundation she had built year after year, making it feel unsteady beneath her. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling before falling uselessly into her lap. For the first time in years, doubt slipped past her defenses. What if they weren't just jealous? What if I had already been reduced to nothing more than his weakness? Marcus appeared in her doorway, tie loosened, eyes saying what his mouth hadn't yet. He leaned against the frame. For once, she didn't smile. "They're already talking," she said softly. "I don't care." "You should." She shook her head, her voice breaking. "Because this is your company, your empire, and me." Her throat closed. "I've worked too hard to be dismissed as somebody's mistake." Marcus steps fully inside, shutting the door behind him. The sound of the latch echoes. "You're not a mistake, Simone. You're the only thing in my life that's right." For once, the man who commanded every room sounded less like a CEO and more like a man begging to be believed. Marcus stood beside Simone at the office window, his tie loose, his mask gone. The city drowned in stormlight, lightning streaking across the skyline. They weren't executives. They were two souls cornered by truth. "I know we're facing a storm, but I built this empire to be untouchable." "And what happens when the storm destroys us?" "When they see us not for who we truly are, but for how they choose to label us." He brushed her cheek. Lightning burned across the glass. "Let's stop worrying about tomorrow. We will face the storm together, no matter what the circumstances may be. But tonight, I need to be the man you can't let go." Simone's throat closed, words trembling between fear and longing. Simone turned her face toward the storm. Lightning flickered in her eyes. "Marcus, storms don't stop just because we decide to stand together." He pressed his forehead to hers, anchored her with his touch. "Then we don't let the storm decide. We move through it, together." Her laugh came soft, almost bitter. "Together sounds like a dream, and dreams don't always survive storms. Let them try. I won't let them break you, not the board, not the rumors, not anyone. You're the only thing I can't lose, Simone, not now. Not ever." Her throat closed. Her body leaned into him, the storm clawed at the windows, but her battle raged within. Thunder rolled through the building, glass shook in its frame. Still, they didn't move. Their reflections were caught in the flashes of lightning, frozen in the storm's glow. Simone traced her fingers along the glass, as if asking the stars for help. "Marcus, storms like this don't pass quietly. They tear things down. People, dreams." He gently took her hand and placed it against his heart, hoping to convey the warmth and reassurance she needed in that moment. "Simone, then let them bring their storm. Without you, I can't breathe. You're the only thing that makes me feel alive." Her laugh was shaky and torn. "What if it costs me everything I've worked so hard to build on my own?" "Then we will build it again. Together, we define who we are, not them." The storm pressed against the glass. Thunder rolled. Neither spoke. The silence admitted what words could not. Nothing would be decided tonight. Marcus and Simone held each other, clinging to a fragile piece the world was already trying to shatter. They kissed softly, then again, deeper, neither one ready to let go. Her arms wrapped around his neck, his hands framed her face. His thumb brushed away tears she hadn't realized had fallen. The storm raged, but in that moment, it was only them. When they parted, Simone whispered against his lips, "I don't want to let you go." "Then don't ever let me go. Stay with me forever, and remember this, I will protect you. I love you, and I will never let them destroy you." He stepped back, gathered himself, mask of control gone. At the door, he looked back once, eyes saying what words could not. Then he disappeared into the storm. Moments later, behind the wheel of his black Mercedes G-Wagon, rain streaked the windshield. Headlights cut through the night. His chest felt heavy, dreading the battle he will face at home. He looked back at the building, one last time, before driving off. To be continued. This is just the beginning. Part 2 is coming soon, if you believe love deserves to endure. Through storms, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to be reminded. Love is not a sign of weakness. Instead, it is our deepest source of strength. It empowers us to endure through any storm that life may bring. In difficult times, it is love that helps us find resilience and hope, enabling us to keep moving forward.
If you enjoyed this video, it would mean so much to me if you could like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support not only inspires me, but also helps me create more content that I hope you will love. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for being such an important part of this community. It's truly appreciated.